Good afternoon. I am Specialist Alvarado, and I will be conducting an unclassified brief today on how to identify topographic symbols on a military map. Our conditions: we will be using a 50,000 scale map and required to identify topographic symbols within that map. The standard is to identify basic colors, symbols, and marginal information within the map. Our risk assessment is low. We are indoors today. However, be cautious and aware of any tripping hazards that might be on the floor, and always be aware of your fire exits in case of a fire. I have given everyone a military map so they can follow along and point out topographic symbols as we go along. Our performance steps. Before we start identifying topographic symbols, I would like to point out that the military map that we have, and any map that you might have, offers a lot of information within the map. So, for instance, the name of the map that we're using, you can find that on top of your map or on any map that you use. We'll be using the Fort Campbell Military Installation Map. You will also notice that it lets you, the map will tell you which scale you're using. We're using the 50,000 scale map. It'll let you know the edition, your series, the sheet. What we're going to be concerned with today is down at the bottom. We're going to be concerned with this area over here, the legend. This will help us reference the topographical symbols that we identified. But we also have the military legend over here that states the firing range or impact area, no fly area, and so forth. We have the conversion graph over here, your slope graph, your scale and your elevation, your ranges, boundaries, and training sites. It's a military map. We're going to have a lot of training sites within the map, and elevation guide and so forth. So like I said, a map is very useful. It gives you a lot of great information within the map. So we will start off by trying to identify some topographic symbols within this military map. The first one we're going to try to identify will be black. Now, black is a man-made feature. If we were to look on our map, and we would try to see if we can find a man-made feature. I see one over here in this area. If you guys would follow along, right under the small arms impact area, there is a black dashed line. And it goes all down here, breaks up a little bit, and then it continues over onto the other side. And you can see a little bit over here. So we know that that is a man-made topographical symbol. But to find out what type of man-made feature that is, we would utilize this legend over here. So it was a black dashed line. So we would go down here to see if we can find a symbol that matches the one on the map. And it, according to this legend, it is a railroad. Railroad is man-made, makes sense. So we can move on. We'll move on to topographic symbol blue. Blue is body of water, such as river, lakes, swamps. If you were to look on your map again, you would see right here in this corner a big body of water. And the map even lets you know the name of the river or the lake. This is Lake Barkley. Travels all from the top all the way to the bottom. It's important to understand the color, what the colors mean, because let's say if you were somewhere that you weren't sure your surroundings, and you were over here in this area over here, and if you were to look on the map, you would see that there's a little lake over there. Or even something smaller than that, there's some blue, there's some body of water over here in this area. you could either, depending on your situation, you either want to stay away from that area, or that might be an area that you want to go towards. So it's important to know the colors and what they represent. So we will move on to brown. Brown are all relief features. Brown is a little bit harder to, I guess, identify within the map. It's just a hard color for me to identify, at least. So we're going to try to identify an all relief feature on the map. If you were to look up here in this area where the gold route is, above that there is white and brown dashed line in this area. So and then there's a brown solid line over here. So some of it is solid and some of it is broken up. If we were to figure out that symbol, we would also utilize the legend down here. So the legend lets us know that it's a hard surface and a loose surface. And that's what this terrain over here, or this topographic symbol means. That's why it's mixed with white and brown dashes with a solid line, because it is both hard and loose surface. We will go on to green. Green is vegetation. As you can see, the map has a lot of green. So, and that's because this is a Fort Campbell map, like I stated. Fort Campbell has a lot of trees, a lot of woods, a lot of grassy areas to conduct training. So it would make sense why there's so much green on the map, because of our surrounding area. So if you were to, I guess let's try to identify it on the map. If you were by the lake, you would see there's a loose and hard surface, brown topographical symbol over here, which means loose and hard surface, surrounded by maybe not a forest, a lot of trees and woodland area. So now we will go on to red. Red is major roads. So we're going to try to identify red within the map. You can see over here, there is a red lines all over here. And this must be a major road, because it expands pretty much this whole area on the map, all down here. Okay, so that would be a major road. Let's see. If we were to utilize the legend over here, it also lets you know that is a let's see, says it a divided, maybe like a divided highway. That might be that one, because it's dashed also. It's not, the whole thing is not a solid red. It's dashed over here, it's solid over here. So it's a mixture of both. And according to the legend over here, it would be maybe a divided highway. Okay, so we'll move on to red-brown. Red-brown is all relief features and made roads on red light readable maps. So a red-brown, let's see if we can try to identify a red-brown color. I did see one earlier. Trying to see if I can go back to where it was at. It looks like over here in this area, it's red-brown. And that lets you know that that is a relief feature or a main road. I would assume it's a main road because it also ties into the red dashed topographical symbol that we identified just a moment ago, and that was a road. So this red-brown would probably lead into the road as well. So as I said, it's a good tool to use. Once you know the topographical symbols colors, it'll be easier for you to identify those symbols because you'll be able to reference your legend here at the bottom. Even if you weren't sure or remembered exactly what every color meant, this legend lets you know, such as like, okay, blue, that's a body of water. The green is the vegetation, and so forth. So next we are going to assess and see if we can successfully identify some of the topographic symbols that we just went over. So if I were, okay, so let's say if we were in an area and we wanted to find a railroad. Look on your map and it seems like there's really only one well, there's railroads over here too, but over here if you see, there's only really one major railroad. Expands all up here and down here. So you would be able to identify that as the railroad. And even if you were to look in a smaller area, let's say, I just saw one. See if you can try to identify a railroad within maybe this area. Is there a identifiable man-made feature in that area? So we would take a look, and there seems to be a road over here. As well as over here. And then you'll see a railroad over here, which names this one is the Liberty Church Transition. So you'll see that right there. All right. And then we'll try to identify, let's say, some body of water. We already kind of identified some over here. And besides Lake Barkley, is there any other bodies of water that we might have to watch out for in this area? I noticed that there are two, and they would be right here, down here. Were you guys able to identify those? And then we'll do one more, and we will do, let's let's do red, the major roads, red. If we were by a body of water, would there be any major roads? Are you able to identify any major roads within this area on the map? And there is some in this area over here. But there's not too many. And that would make sense. It's a big body of water. You might not find any major roads there, but you would find vegetation as shown by the green surrounding it. Alright, so everyone was able to correctly identify the topographic symbols within this military map. I will be collecting the maps back from everyone. And we will be conducting NAR. So what's supposed to happen today? Identifying topographical symbols on a military map, correct? What did happen today? We identified topographic symbols on a military map. Some sustainments, a good visual aid, and improvements, maybe some better lighting. Alright. So to summarize, we identified topographic symbols on a map. We used a good big picture visual aid for everybody to see, and we had visual aids for you to follow along on for yourselves. And we will have better lighting for the next briefing. So our final assessment and final inspection, I have all the maps. We will now be conducting a and this concludes my brief.